Did you ever wonder why some of Hollywood's brightest young stars simply disappeared once the 1950s rolled around? In the next few minutes, you'll meet 6 enchanting actresses, each at the height of fame, who walked away from the silver screen and into obscurity. Their stories are filled with glittering premieres and whispered rumors, with glamorous red carpets giving way to silent doorways. Stay tuned, because the reasons they vanished are more surprising and more human than anything you've seen on film. Greta Garbo was the original, I Want to Be Alone. By 1941, at age 36, and still one of MGM's highest-paid actresses, she shocked the world by retiring at the peak of her career. Born in Sweden in 1905, Garbo had conquered silent cinema with ethereal beauty, and then conquered talkies with her smoky, hushed voice in Anna Christie, 1930. Every contract renewal carried her signature demand: private limousines, no press in her home, and final cut privilege. In Ninotchka, 1939, audience laughter over her deadpan delivery earned her the nickname Garbo Laughs, a victory for a star known for serious roles. Yet after Two-Faced Woman, 1941, fell flat, Garbo stepped away. No farewell tour, no farewell film. Publicists speculated about health or disillusionment with Hollywood's changing tastes. In reality, Garbo had grown weary of studio control, longing for anonymity and inspired by a European real estate offer. She bought a villa in Nice, withdrew all her money into cash, and refused to authorize interviews. Over decades, biographers traced sightings of her walking incognito through Central Park or shopping in Manhattan boutiques. Her vanishing act, orchestrated with unprecedented secrecy, cemented her mystique. No autograph, no comeback, only the memory of those unforgettable close-ups. Deanna Durbin burst onto the screen at Universal Studios at age 13 in Three Smart Girls, 1936, saving the entire studio from bankruptcy with her pure soprano. By her early 20s, she had headlined 15 musicals, spun off fan magazines, and toured for the troops during World War II. Durbin's wholesome image, even her pet dog had its own fan club, was the antidote to depression-era cynicism. But in 1949, at 25, she walked off the set during For the Love of Mary, refused her final contract option, and disappeared to raise a family in France. Universal reportedly offered her triple salary to stay, but Durbin feared typecasting and yearned for a private life. Her exit blindsided fans accustomed to her weekly appearances in Universal Theatre shorts. In the decades that followed, Durbin's musicals sold on television, yet the star herself never returned. She granted a single interview in 1981, reiterating that Hollywood had never felt like home. When she died in 2013, obituaries remembered her voice, but barely noted her silence, proof that self-imposed exile can erase even the brightest legacy. Jean Arthur was America's favorite girl next door, her warmth shining through in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, 1939, and The More the Merrier, 1943. With her plucky charm and indelible falsetto, Arthur seemed destined for a long career. Yet after Shane, 1953, she walked away from acting, turning down offers, including a starring role in the Love Boat pilot decades later. She never explained her sudden retirement, fueling rumors of studio politics or personal disillusionment. Arthur, born Gladys Georgi in 1900, had endured a difficult childhood, 5 marriages, and a bitter struggle with debilitating stage fright. Some say she feared losing her privacy. Others suspect she resented the industry's flirtation with youth. Arthur retreated to a cabin in Vermont, where she lived quietly until her death in 1991. In that cabin, she painted watercolors, tended her garden, and refused to confirm whether she regretted her decision. Today, classic film buffs seek out her movies, but the woman behind those luminous performances remains a ghost, content to let her art speak for itself. At Universal in the early 1940s, Carol Landis was the pulchritude of pulchritude, a striking blonde whose statuesque screen presence led to top billing in 1 million BC. 1940, and Topper returns, 1941. Yet Landis's dazzling career hit a tragic interior. She married MGM writer Thomas Wallace, who died in 1943, and then survived a near-fatal airplane crash. In 1948, at age 29, she died by her own hand in a hotel room, leaving a published note accusing actor Rex Harrison of betrayal. But before her death, Landis had quietly tried to continue acting on stage in New York and even began producing radio shows. After her suicide, studios scrubbed her from publicity reels. Her name vanished from fan magazines and reissued film prints. Despite a lengthy posthumous scandal, Landis's body of work faded, replaced by headlines about frenzied Hollywood ladies' final act. Her disappearance from public memory reminds us how tragedy can overshadow and ultimately erase talent. Gail Sondergaard, the first Oscar-winning actress for Best Supporting Actress in Antony Adverse, 1936, embodied exotic menace with her penetrating stare and aristocratic poise. Yet by the late 1940s, Sondergaard, blacklisted along with her communist-accused husband Herbert by Berman, found herself unemployable in Hollywood. Summoned by the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1951, she refused to testify and returned to the stage in England and New York. Though she continued acting on Broadway and in British television, her name disappeared from American screens. While her contemporaries graced cover stories, Sondergaard worked under pseudonyms and traveled on stark European buses. Her exile was both political and personal, a leading lady reduced to a footnote in studio history. Only after her death in 1985 did cinephiles rediscover her chic villainesses in old Warner Bros. Thrillers and wonder how a pioneering star could vanish so completely. These first 6 stories are only the beginning. In Part 2, we'll journey deeper into Hollywood's forgotten corridors, meeting actresses whose careers and lives were cut short by contract disputes, personal heartbreak, and the relentless passage of time. You'll hear about women who vanished behind the Iron Curtain, traded stardom for family, or simply faded into anonymity when studios lost interest. Their forgotten films, once box office hits, now lie buried in vaults or orphaned by distribution disputes. Stay with us for the next chapter, because the golden age of Hollywood hides more vanished starlets than you ever imagined. By the mid-1950s, Hollywood's glimmer had dimmed for a new wave of promising talents. Women whose names once graced marquee lights, then faded into the background as studio politics and personal choices pulled them off screen for good. Jane Powell's Unfinished Melody. Jane Powell burst onto the scene in 1944 at age 16, her crystalline soprano carrying MGM musicals like A Date with Judy. 1947, and Royal Wedding, 1951. Audiences adored her girl next-door innocence. Producers envisioned her as the successor to Deanna Durbin's wholesome reign. Yet by 1955, as rock and roll eclipsed the studio songbook, Powell found herself between genres, too mature for teen musicals, too musical for dramatic roles. After a string of box office duds and a broken engagement to choreographer Nick Adams, she quietly left MGM in 1957. Powell spent the next decade on Broadway, her voice still commanding, but film roles never materialized. When she resurfaced in the 1970s on television variety shows, fans cheered, but the silver screen Jane had vanished. Today, her few surviving films are revival curiosities, cherished by collectors, but largely unknown to modern viewers. Deborah Kerr's discreet exit. Deborah Kerr, Britain's gift to Hollywood, charmed audiences in From Here to Eternity, 1953, and The King and I, 1956. Yet despite 5 Oscar nominations, Kerr never won, and by the 1960s she grew frustrated with typecasting as the stoic beauty. After The Sundowners, 1960, Kerr declined major studio offers, opting instead for stage work in London's West End. She refused a multi-picture contract from 20th Century Fox, citing a desire for artistic control and a quieter life raising her children. While Kerr continued acting on British television and radio, her Hollywood image all but evaporated. Retrospectives rarely showcase her later stage triumphs, and her name now chiefly conjures a few classic roles, an ironic echo of the permanence she once rejected. Mitzi Gaynor's dance card emptied. Mitzi Gaynor dazzled in high-energy musicals at Fox, South Pacific, 1958, and There's No Business Like Show Business, 1954. A gifted dancer and singer, she shared the screen with Gloria Graham and Marilyn Monroe, yet her career stalled by the end of the decade. Contract disputes over earnings and screen credits led Gaynor to walk away from Fox in 1960. She spent the 1960s headlining Las Vegas shows and TV specials, yet never returned to feature films. Pop culture's appetite for her tap routines waned, and modern musicals rarely reference her vivacious style. Despite her glowing star on the Walk of Fame, Gaynor's cinematic legacy remains a footnote, a reminder of how even the brightest accompanied tunes can fade once the record stops spinning. Kim Novik's Silent Goodbye. In 1958, Kim Novik terrified audiences as the icy femme fatale in Hitchcock's Vertigo. Her luminous presence in Picnic, 1955, and Pal Joey, 1957, cemented her status as a leading lady. Yet by 1966, after Rosemary's Baby passes her by, Novik abruptly retired at age 33, citing exhaustion and a desire for privacy. Rumors swirled stage fright, disenchantment with roles, personal crises, but Novik remained silent. She withdrew to Northern California, taking up painting and occasional gallery exhibitions. Although she accepted occasional cameos, she never pursued a full-time Hollywood return. Today, her sparse filmography is dissected by enthusiasts, but the real Novik, the painter and recluse, remains as enigmatic as the characters she once portrayed. Sophia Loren's Crossroads. Sophia Loren's career trajectory diverges from her contemporaries. She refused Hollywood's permanent exile, but nearly fell into it. In 1957, after winning an Oscar for Two Women, Lauren signed with Paramount, but endured culture clash conflicts. Hollywood's rigid studio schedules clashed with her desire for European artistry. She returned to Italy to collaborate with Vittorio De Sica on neo-realist gems. Though Lauren's star endured internationally, American audiences saw fewer of her key performances. A generation grew up knowing only a handful of her English-language films. Only in the 1990s did retrospective screenings and DVD releases reintroduce her full range, reminding viewers that her brief Hollywood chapters were but a fraction of her storied career. Anne Blyth's Curtain Call. Anne Blyth captivated audiences as the girl next door in Mildred Pierce, 1945, and showcased an operatic voice in MGM musicals. But by the mid-1950s, she chafed under studio constraints. After a contentious role in The Private War of Major Benson, 1955, Blyth refused further contract renegotiations and left MGM at age 28. She continued acting in television anthologies, soap operas, and on stage. Yet her image shifted from starlet to character actor, and her name drifted from fan magazines to theater playbills. Modern viewers who stream Mildred Pierce often overlook Blyth's luminous supporting turn, a testament to how leaving behind Hollywood's glare can dim an actress's legacy. These vanished careers share common threads. Studios shrinking musicals and melodramas, audiences migrating to television, and personal choices that valued privacy over perpetual fame. Unlike today's stars who juggle film, streaming, social media, and spin-offs, these actresses operated under the monolithic studio system. Walking away meant risking total obscurity, yet their stories did not end in silence. In the decades that followed, film scholars and restoration experts unearthed lost prints, redubbed tracks, and reconstructed set pieces. The Criterion Collection's Blu-ray editions brought Jane Powell's Royal Wedding and Anne Blyth's The Velvet Touch to fresh eyes. TCM's Vault to TV events spotlighted Jane Powell's charity galas, Mitzi Gaynor's Las Vegas specials, and Kim Novik's rare interviews. Film festivals in Cannes and Venice reunited Sophia Loren with international fans, reclaiming her Hollywood interludes. Moreover, personal memoirs and authorized biographies gave voice to the vanished. Deborah Kerr's diaries revealed her conflicted heart. Carol Landis's letters exposed her final desperation. Gail Sondergaard's interviews chronicled her blacklisting ordeals. These revelations not only restored their names, but reframed their departures as acts of agency, choosing authenticity over assembly line stardom. What lessons do these forgotten starlets impart to today's generation? First, the trappings of fame are fleeting when divorced from passion. Second, contractual security can become creative shackles. Third, a single, strategic withdrawal can preserve dignity, though at the cost of on-screen legacy. And finally, modern platforms, streaming services, social media, and grassroots fan campaigns offer the power to rediscover, revere, and rejuvenate careers once thought lost. As we close this chapter on the actresses who vanished after 1950, remember that Hollywood's golden age wasn't just about perpetual spotlight. It was also about the courage to walk away. These women traded sound stages for solitude, fanfare for family, and film reels for real-life portraits. Their stories remind us sometimes the most courageous role an actor can play is leaving the set behind. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to uncover more hidden chapters of Hollywood history. What forgotten starlet should we spotlight next? Let us know in the comments below.